Now we're going to talk about a phenomenon that I would describe as the floating of the vertebrae. This is more of a subjective felt experience of how I've begun to feel my spine as I've gone through various styles of imagery. So I will talk about some of the more gravity-oriented pressure systems, right, where you have the vertebrae stacked like a building. But that's not going to be my primary imagery. My primary imagery is going to be one of, as a great dance teacher of mine said, buoyancy, as though the body were internally buoyant within itself. And I think that this concept is very important in teaching the spine so that we don't end up in positions that are somehow what I would call artificial. So affected is probably the best word. We're looking for a natural posture that can leave us free to move, using our muscles just as efficiently as we can, with good posture, feeling healthy and vital. So what I want you to think about is, before we even get into the deeper anatomy of each of the vertebrae, you can sort of see that each of the vertebrae has these like wing-like protrusions, and then there's a protrusion in the back. So each vertebra has 3 prongs that are almost like wings, and I like to think of the vertebrae as airplanes flying in a vertical orientation, or maybe like a flock of birds. Might be a little more peaceful than jet engines, but you imagine the things flying, and I touch my tailbone and I touch just below my ears, which will be about the top of my spine, and I'm imagining all the vertebrae. So all the way down the tailbone there will be 33. And so I'm imagining 33 white doves at the moment, floating, and each one of them is sort of riding the updraft of the other. So while yes, they are pressing down against the air pressure and they're beating down towards the earth and towards each other, they are also drifting up through this maybe hot air rising. And what I encourage you to do is, if you're standing, feel your feet, and if you're sitting, feel your sit bones, and feel it's almost like I sink into the earth, or rather it's like I touched it and put my hand in it and felt like that I could communicate with it in some way. That's the imagery I'm using. I use this to my sit bones to ground, and this all of a sudden somehow creates the flying, floating sensation between the vertebrae. So they're both simultaneously resting, falling down in space, but they're also lifting and floating up in space. Try to walk around like that for a day.
If you enjoyed this video, sign up for the InBody Space newsletter and share the link with a friend. You can also find original content on Facebook and Instagram.